Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of Food Growing Up. It's a show that we talk about food culture in our households then and now. I have to admit, it was a lot of fun making the first episode, and I loved getting feedback from family and friends. I think the biggest thing I need to work on is not laughing directly into the mic. Today, I'm joined by my friend Ioanna, a student who I met in Circle K, which is a collegiate community service organization based out of Kiwanis. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your major, your year, and where you're from?
Yeah. Hi. As Alana said, I'm Ioanna. I'm from originally Miami, Florida. I'm a junior, so I came here about 3 years ago. I came in for animal science, but decided to switch to biology, and then I switched again to BBH and kinesiology, and I'm happy where I'm at.
Nice. Awesome. So what's cool about Circle K is the fact that service projects give members a lot of opportunities to talk and get to know each other better. Mm-hmm. So I specifically remember being at the Arboretum at Penn State with Ioanna, clearing some brush, and that's when I first discovered that Ioanna was vegan. Do you remember this conversation at all?
Yeah, I thought we started it in the restoration place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like,
right,
we were
right.
like, we just happened to like be in the bathroom, I think, like washing our hands together,
yeah.
and we were like, oh yeah, I'm like really into documentaries now. I was like, oh, have you seen what is like What the Health?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's the best one. And you're like, yeah, I'm trying to be vegan. I'm like, oh, me too. That's
perfect. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that part.
No,
and that's like the
right.
most crucial part of our story. So yeah, it was last spring when I just started transitioning to veganism, and a couple of weeks ago we actually just got brunch together. It was a vegan brunch at Webster's bookstore downtown. We talked about life a little bit. It was a good time. What was your favorite vegan brunch item that we had there?
That beet salad thing was really good. The beets were really good. I don't know. I growing up, I never really had beets or anything, and then college is a place to experience new things, and so now I'm getting into beets.
Right. There was 1 week I remember at the farmer's market downtown. I bought like a bunch of beets, and it was literally a bunch. It was like 5 or 6 huge beets, and the whole week I didn't realize how long it takes a single person to eat beets because it's like a big. I don't know if it's like considered a vegetable or like a root.
It's a root.
Root. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was very sick of beets for a few weeks there, but now I love them. And like the pickled beets, I think are my favorite. I couldn't tell if the one in our salad was pickled, but I think it might have just been like lightly. I don't know.
Pickled beets are
anyway,
good.
Pickling fascinates me. I want to learn about how to do it.
Too. It's so good for the probiotics as well.
Ooh, good to know, good to know. I think my favorite was the tofu scramble. I don't know if you got any of that, but
I did. I make that often, so it wasn't anything new.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm really bad at making tofu, so
no, it's okay.
I appreciate it when I can get it. So another cool fact about Ioanna is that she goes to Greece about once a year, and I learned this when I talked to her about being in Italy. I had gone with my family last summer, and we were both abroad at about the same time. So could you tell me a little bit about your trips to Greece and kind of what they mean to you?
Yeah, well, my father is Greek and my mother is Puerto Rican. So growing up in Miami, I was never like wanting for the Hispanic culture, and a lot of my close family in Miami is like from my mother's side. So I'm very like versed with Puerto Rican culture. But given the fact that my dad is from another country and he really wanted me and my siblings to be immersed in the culture, like I've been going to Greek school since I was 3. So I know I'm fluent in the language, and I had my grandmother never wanted to move to America because Greece is her home. So every summer my dad would like send us off to Greece to like be with our grandmother. And I don't know, like as far as I can remember, I always like we spent like 3 months at a time like in Greece. We were completely immersed, and it like just being with our grandmother was amazing. And then like we as we get older, schedules conflict, and we just don't have time for it. So I remember the first year we didn't go to Greece was very upsetting, because it is like my other home, and even my mother, who is like who was born in America but is very familiar with Puerto Rico and that culture, she just identified with Greece like way more. It's
wow. Okay.
I don't know. It's something about the air and the water.
Yeah, it was just like a vacation, but also your home.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah, when I went to Italy, I was hoping it would be more of like a coming home sort of feeling, but I think just having had grandparents who were more Americanized, and then having my parents be super Americanized, because like we went from Italian names in my grandparents' kind of age to them naming my parents like very American names just to like assimilate. Yeah, and they never carried on like the Italian, like they might have had a few words from like their parents, but going to Italy was sort of surprising because I expected it to be more of like, oh, I'm home, but it really wasn't. I felt like, no, I need to go back to the United States, like that's where I belong. So that's really cool that you kind of have like a dual home in a sense.
I have dual citizenship.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So to switch gears a little bit, so my mom's Irish and my dad's Italian. So growing up, I ate a lot of the like stereotypical foods from those cultures. So it was like corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day, or spaghetti and meatballs, pasta primavera, eggplant parmesan, which my dad would make like really good eggplant parm. My grandma's always beat him though. So when I think of Greek food, I think of like grape leaves, olives, and feta cheese. Is this accurate?
Pretty accurate, yeah.
Okay, so what are some well-known Greek dishes that you grew up with?
So when I was spending my summers in Greece, my grandmother loved to cook, and oh man, she would cook anything under the sun. One thing that was my favorite was like fakes, which is basically like a bean soup. And she would, I don't know why, I've never really seen it anywhere else, but she used to put like macaroni noodles in it, but like very sparsely. So you just like every other spoonful is like, oh, a surprise noodle.
Surprise,
yeah, it was so good. And she made pasticcio, which is essentially like a lasagna type thing, but it's like a cream top that's like baked on top, and then there's a layer of meat and a layer of like very, very long, like special noodles. They're like, I don't know, they're like cylindrical in shape, but they're very like long, like spaghetti.
Okay. Are they stuffed?
No, well, the meat ends up getting in there and like some of the other things, but usually no, they're like layered. Yeah, it's really fun.
So digging a little bit deeper, there's always sort of lesser known dishes that are cultural staples. I know you mentioned some of them. Like on my Italian side specifically, I think of like pizzelle cookies, which are like a very specific, they're like these flat cookies that get almost cooked in like a waffle iron. So they have like a pretty design. Gardoon, which is spelled Cardoon. I had to ask my sisters and my mom because my grandma always calls it like Garduna, which is like her way of pronouncing it, but we never knew what it was until recently, and we had to like Google around. I guess it's a relative of the artichoke, and it almost looks like celery. It's like a celery stalk, but it's not always found in like grocery stores, but she fries that up, and it's delicious. I can't really describe, it's like a sweeter celery, but it's really yummy. And then escarole, which is sort of like a lettuce sort of spinach combination, and you like cook it in oil and garlic, and it's like really good. You can almost have it like soup. So it was really delicious like growing up, and that was stuff that my grandma would always make. So are there any dishes like that come to mind from your experience of like
I don't think a lot of people know about like lemono kotopulo, which is basically like lemon chicken stew, and it's like really good. It has like a very lemony flavor, but this chicken itself is also savory, and there's rice in there and things like that. And I guess another thing is bugatsa, which is a particular like pastry, and again it's like pasticcio that has like the cream top, and then it's like layers of phyllo dough, and then sprinkled, like everyone makes it differently, but the way I really prefer it is that like cream on top, and then like sprinkled with powdered sugar and cinnamon, and then the phyllo dough like underneath and stuff like that. It was really good.
That's amazing.
I've been trying to veganize it, but like
the cheeses are
the cream hard. Is the cream is hard.
I always think about like we have a Greek festival by my house that I would always go to, and other than like the pitas with the like gyro. Is it gyro hero?
Gyro.
Gyro, okay. Finally I know. Okay. And then there'd be like baklava. I think baklava is my favorite part of
baklava usually is vegan the way they make it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Good to know. So are there any of these dishes that sort of remind you of certain like holidays or events? Like you said, visiting your grandma. I think of corned beef and cabbage being with my St. Patrick's Day, that kind of thing. Is there anything that like sparks a specific like feeling?
Marmalade. Ooh. My grandmother used to make homemade marmalade or marmelada, and I remember distinctly like one time I asked her like how she made it. She was like, "Come here, like look into the pot," and all I see is white, and I'm like, where's the fruit? She goes, "It's underneath the sugar." Oh my gosh. Where was the sugar? It was a mountain like sticking up like out of the pot. I was like, this is ridiculous. And we spread this every day on our toast.
On your toast, okay, I was gonna ask.
I can't remember exactly what they're called at the moment, but they're just like come in packages, and they're like little small, like really hard toast. But it's not like traditional toast where it's like the like, kind of soft, whatever. It's just like really hard.
It's more like a cracker?
Kind of, but
thicker?
But thicker, yeah. I actually bought a package. I have it at home. I should have brought it.
Oh no, it's good.
But we used to put butter on it first, and then the marmalade, and we just eat so many of those.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good.
I made jam for the first time this summer, and it hit me how much sugar it takes to make any fruit taste like anything when you put it on spreads. So I feel that, but your grandma's doing it the right way.
She was. I love foods with love. All the sugar's love.
Yes. Do you still cook any of these dishes yourself at home? Like, do you have a kitchen that you try these?
The fakes, I make a lot. There's like another bean dish called like gigantes, which is basically like giant beans, and they're pretty like big beans, like quarter size. And those take a little while to cook though, because they're so big. You have to like soak them for a day or two.
Okay.
And then like there's like a tomato base and sauce that they usually cook them for a while and then season like throughout the cooking process.
Okay, so do those beans, do they come dry then?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
rehydrate them? Okay, cool. I tried that with black beans recently, and it's interesting. I can't get them quite as soft as they are, like, from the can, but it's nice to just buy beans. Soaking.
The longer
like,
you
how long?
soak,
How?
the longer you soak the bean, the better.
You're giving me a look. I'm like, I don't think I did it long enough.
I'm so sorry. The longer you soak a bean, the better they'll cook.
Okay. I did, like, overnight once. I don't think maybe that wasn't long enough.
I don't know. Black beans usually. I actually have bean soaking at home now. Usually overnight it's good. But what temperature do you cook them at?
Okay, this is the way that I saw online. It was like boil them for 15 minutes and then just let them sit in water. So the water gets cold eventually. No? Tell me the way.
How do I do it? I'll just let them simmer on medium heat for like an hour or two.
Okay, maybe I need to try more heat.
Yeah.
I wonder if even like a crock pot would work.
Probably.
Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
But beans are hard, man. I
know, beans are hard. You definitely have to plan beforehand. Like, just soak a big bunch and then have it for a week or two.
Yeah, for sure. So what is a cuisine from another culture that you'd like to learn more about?
I think I know... Well, it's interesting you say that because my dad obviously is Greek, but he's so fascinated with Asian cuisine. He loves it, especially Vietnamese food. It's his favorite.
Yes.
He's a huge fan of pho, or like pho. Huge. He travels. So I think I got my love of cooking and like, I guess like Asian cuisine and Indian cuisine like from him. Because because he's an avid traveler. So anywhere he goes, he tries to find like a Vietnamese restaurant and try their pho. Or go to like any other Asian cuisine and like try that food. He's a huge fan of New York for that. He loves Chinatown.
Yes.
So I think I would I'd like to know more about the differences in Asian cuisine. So because I'm like really familiar with like Vietnamese and Korean and like a little bit of Thai, but not really like Filipino cuisine or I know Indian. I think I know Indian cuisine quite well. I had an Indian friend that taught me a few things, and I was so appreciative of her. But even like Middle Eastern cuisine and other things like that.
For sure. And there's so many I feel like that are totally unexplored. Like I would love to learn like some African like dishes. Like I feel like that's not something you typically see.
Yeah.
At least especially around here. Like Central Pennsylvania. You get the Thai, you get the
I just had Ethiopian food over the break in New York. It was really good. Their bread is really interesting. It's very spongy, like a sponge. And you eat with your hands. So the way that I got my food was it was all vegan too. They're very accommodating for that. And so it's a huge dinner plate, and then they lay this like really flat spongy bread on the plate, and then they pile your food like on top of it. So you break off a piece of the bread and then like pick up the food and eat it like that.
How did you ask them, or was it sort of just like
I didn't ask. It came. I think someone at the table I was with like said that, and it seemed like the most reasonable thing to keep your hands clean.
Awesome. I really want to learn more about, like you said, Indian food, too. I had a friend who taught me, like, one dish, and I was just, like, so fascinated. I feel like the one thing about Italian food, and people might, like, make fun of me for this, but I feel like our spices aren't that exciting. Like, it's a lot of oregano, salt, pepper.
It's all very savory things.
Yeah. And it's very, like, I find that the flavors are very repetitive, whereas with Indian food, there are so many spices that are so, like, beneficial for your health, too. And I know my friend was, like, so good at just being able to kind of taste one or, like, know exactly what, like, her dish needed. And I just want to get to that level of, like, really knowing how to make my food flavorful. So that's something I kind of appreciated about other cultures that I feel like, at least in my household, wasn't a big thing growing up.
I would agree. My mother did not like to cook at all. I mean, growing up, like, when I was young, definitely, like, she tried her best. And my aunt, I was very close to my aunt, my cousins, and I still am. Go over to her house frequently and like she'd cook, but as we got older, my mom just abhorred cooking, and my dad didn't cook very often because he worked like nights, so it kind of like got like for a few years at the time it kind of got into like the frozen foods and like just ready meals and like the American diet, which sucked. But then we had like the summers in Greece as breaks and like had like real food.
It's like
and
a treat.
like, it's like a treat. And then I had to like kind of learn how to cook by myself. When I got into high school, I did a project I was in an ethics class, and you had to choose like a certain topic. And I always loved animal welfare, animal rights issues.
Animal science major,
of course. Yeah. And so it was like a semester-long project, so it took a lot of my time, and I just learned so much about like, you know, the animal food industry and dairy industry and the way we treat animals, like in animal testing and things like that. And I just like, I was like, I'm vegetarian now. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, is that when you first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was vegetarian like all through high school.
Wow.
And then I came here and I was like, no, like, I wanna try to be vegan because I was watching like documentaries at that point, like on Netflix and everything, and just reading about it. And I was watching a lot of YouTube stars who were vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried it, and the dining halls aren't terribly what's the word, diverse in like their food choices. And I felt like kind of pressured with a lot of people that like pizza's a common like late night drunk dish. Mm-hmm. And so I would just sit there and be like, I'm hungry, but I can't have what you're having.
Right.
So that kind of I just reverted back to being a vegetarian, and then my sophomore year when I got my own apartment and my own stove, I was like, no, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm. So do you find, like, in Greece, like, I know you mentioned there's a lot of, like, cream and feta dishes, and maybe, you know, I understand, like, even in Italy, there were moments where, like, Parmesan cheese was on stuff, and I was like, okay, like, it is what it is. Do you find that it's easier to eat vegan there just because the Mediterranean diet is a little bit more, like, vegetable, bean, rice heavy, or is it just similar to the U.S. where there's always something, like, with cheese or butter?
No, I think it's easy everywhere if you really just put in effort and are not afraid to like ask for accommodations, because I think like vegans get a lot of crap or have this like view, like people have this view of them that they're very picky and that what they eat and how they eat is a burden, and then you have to like accommodate for them, and it's a huge thing. But honestly, like restaurants are there to serve you, and you just ask, like always approach respectfully and politely, like, hey, like, can you do this without this? Like, oh, is this made with butter? Is this made with oil? Like stuff like that, and you just can't be afraid.
Right.
And I think at the beginning I was afraid, especially, I don't know if you had like kind of the same issue with your family. It was like, it was an adjustment for them, and at first my family did think it was a burden, but now like they're my family, they're not gonna disown me or abandon me because I'm a vegan. So they try their best, and my dad still makes his little quips and jokes, but yeah, you know, you just have to like, if you want to live this lifestyle, you just have to like be open about it and like go and like what you did and when you were going to Italy, like learning the phrases that you needed,
like, that was
and
important.
Kind of like just take those extra steps.
I was gonna say, when you're in Greece, it probably helps too if you go out and you know the language. Like, that makes a big difference. I noticed even in some places, I think in Italy, I would notice that restaurants would understand vegetarian, but when you said vegan, they thought vegan was vegetarian. So there were some like little miscommunications, but for the most part, I was pretty pleased with how that went. So it was good. And yeah, I think my family was pretty accommodating. I've actually been impressed. My dad has become more vegetarian now. Ooh. He's been reading like a lot of, because he's a sciencey kind of guy, so he's been reading up about like the animals and that kind of thing and just the impact on the environment, and he's been a lot more open to it because he used to be like a very big meat eater, and now he makes a conscious effort to sort of avoid it when he can. So that's kind of a fun, it's cool to see like just by practicing what you preach, other people sort of follow or kind of explore it themselves, and that's been really rewarding too.
I totally agree.
Not something that I expected. So one last question for you.
Okay.
With the December break coming up and holiday season upon us, do you plan on doing any cooking at home with family?
I actually cooked all of Thanksgiving dinner.
Did you?
Aside from the turkey, I cooked all the sides, and they were all vegan.
Look at you go. Amazing. I was gonna say, we did try the Trader Joe's like quote unquote turkey. It's like the vegan turkey roast.
Yeah.
It was alright. Can't say it was my favorite like vegan alternative meat. But my mom did like make special sides for me that was with like vegan butter or like almond milk or that kind of thing. So it was nice. Like I had my like Thanksgiving dinner and everybody else had theirs, and it worked out well. So
I'm so glad. I mean, I decided to take it into my own hands this year, because last year I ended up just eating mashed potatoes and bread, and that was disheartening. But I was up at 6 a.m. and we had dinner at 6 p.m. So cooked like a full like 11 hours.
Yeah, it was like a long. Yeah. Did anybody like notice that it was vegan?
No.
See, like, that's the thing. Other than the turkey, I think it's really easy to be like, you don't have to tell anybody like it's vegan, but nobody knows.
Exactly.
My family was trying the butter, and they're like, oh, this doesn't taste at all like what I thought it was going to taste like.
What did you think?
I know, it was like, it tastes like butter.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, it does.
Oh my gosh.
So, that was cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me and being on my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed learning more about you and Greek culture.
Anytime.